right, guys. So listen, nothing would make me happier than to see John Corabi, your Motley Crue self-titled lead singer from the Quaternary EP, back with Mick Mars, doing some killer songs. But I read an article in Blabbermouth where he was asked, or Blabbermouth cited an interview that Mick did on Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk, and he was asked, whatever happened to those songs with John Corabi? Why didn't you include them on the record that you just put out that everybody's talking about, that did very well on the charts, by the way? He said the songs weren't strong enough. So to me, that's Mick Mars saying to any future work. And I know John wants to work with Mick, and I think that Mick really likes John. And Mick actually, in an interview, said, I'm going to get in some trouble. I'm quoting him sort of. I'm going to get in some trouble, but one of my favorite albums was that Motley record. And listen, if that record had come out 2 or 3 years before or 2 or 3 years later, it would have been like a double platinum hit. It just, unfortunately, came out at the height of grunge, and Elektra wasn't behind. That's the other thing. You know, a lot of times we hear about, oh, you know, like these records like Warrant's Dog Eat Dog, phenomenal record, but Columbia wasn't behind it. You know what I mean? Or we looked at Faster Pussycat's Whipped, phenomenal record. Or Cinderella's Still Climbing, phenomenal record. The labels just didn't get behind it. They didn't put any promo behind it. You know what I mean? They didn't get them on like big touring acts. You know, when the label gives you the cold shoulder, you know, when it's cold on that side of the bed, you know, these bands, they just can't do it. You know, I mean, but anyways, I digress. That was a great record. You know, to hear Nikki Sixx say that John can't write songs or that John's not as talented is a crock of shit. You know, from a guy who doesn't even plug his bass in half the time. The reality, and who wrote the Heroin Diaries, you know, when most heroin addicts can't stay awake. But the reality of the matter is that I think that Mick probably just doesn't want to take a step back. He doesn't want a nostalgia act. And I think that I'm going to disagree with Mick when he said the songs weren't strong enough. I think it's just that Mick wanted to do something completely free of Motley Crue. That's what I think. I think that when he made those songs, they had that stupid contract. I have no doubt Nikki Sixx got on the horn and said, hey, you can't do this. You're breaching the contract. You can't do this. And not only are you breaching the contract, you're messing with the whole like marketing ploy, because I think that was a marketing ploy, but one that they took very seriously. And they were able to scare Mick away from working with John. So that was a factor. But I think the factor of him now saying, years later, that the songs aren't strong enough really isn't really accurate. It's more so that he, I think, is at a point in his career, in his 70s, probably isn't going to be touring much more or at all, and wants to do something, a true solo, meaning no Motley involvement from anyone. Not having Bob Rock behind the glass. I don't know if Bob produced the record. Maybe he did, but I would doubt it. Probably not Bob Rock behind the glass. Not John, Nikki, Tommy, Vince. Not Samantha Maloney. None of them. Not even John 5 now, because John 5, who I think Mick Mars likes and has worked with before, not even John 5 because he's part of that camp. I think he wanted to do something entirely solo, without anything to do with Motley Crue. And so I think having John there for that record or future records would be kind of like a nostalgia act, some sort of Motley connection that he doesn't want, but nothing against John, and certainly not because the music wouldn't be strong enough.